Energy. So with that being said, David, I want to hand it right over to you. I yield you my mic. And as you go through this powerful presentation, we welcome again, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, let's rock and roll.
Thank you so very much, Dee. I appreciate your leadership in the organization. We've had some preliminary calls since I accepted the position of CEO of this company. For those that don't know, I've been in the finance industry for almost 4 decades. I have started companies, I've managed companies, I've worked for Wells Fargo and Bank of America, starting branches on the mortgage side. I've owned mortgage brokerages and real estate brokerages, still have a real estate brokerage, although I don't actively work that. I have an international finance company, and I've watched some very interesting changes take place in the finance world over the last number of years, particularly since 2016, where I started looking internationally. And what can be done at the top levels in finance are mind-blowing. When you talk about governments being able to print money, it's amazing. Money is created out of thin air. It started after the Second World War, when they were trying to rebuild Europe that had been severely bombed out and damaged. So they created an international finance market with the wealthiest people in the world. And through the evolution of that, we've ended up with the complexity of today's financial world. What we're going to talk to you about today is Beno Energy, our vision, our plan, why we've picked the particular market that we're in, why we picked the method of getting the word out that we picked, and where the economic opportunity is for you. I would like to say that I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. We recommend that you get that from a professional. This is strictly for information and for you to do your diligence to see what it is that we offer and decide for yourself to come and join our team. So at this point, I'd like to bring up our presentation, which incidentally, we have copies of this available for you that you can share with your friends and review as well. Let me go down to the screen share. And open up the PDF. See all that AI art there? Isn't that amazing? That was all created out of artificial intelligence. We go down to, there we go. Beno Energy is a company that has been founded to help the world transition from fossil fuels to the clean green fuels. So as you ask yourself, since we're looking at green, why are we also focused on generating income and investing in fossil fuels? It's because without fossil fuels, we can't have green. I was talking to Dee before the video started, before our presentation started, and we were talking about electric cars. Let me see if I can shrink this down there. We were talking about electric cars, and I said, how do you think we manufacture electric cars? We manufacture them with fossil fuels. How do you think we manufacture solar cells? We manufacture those with fossil fuels. How do you think we mine lithium? We mine that with fossil fuels. So you can't get rid of fossil fuels in the world. What you can do is invest those fossil fuels into creating renewable energy, and we want to do that. So we're interested in investing in exploration as well as production. We're very interested in infrastructure because infrastructure is where the steady streams of income are. Rather than try to build a plant ourselves, what we've chosen to do is have professional traders invest in the stocks for which these particular resources are developed and built. So we're interested in renewable energy. We're interested in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. We're interested in solar. We're interested in all sources of a greener tomorrow, but we need to use fossil fuels to get there. You can see the hydroelectric dam in the background, back to what we talked about earlier. How do you think that dam was built? It was built by using fossil fuels. We manage our portfolio, which is backing this company, with professional traders with years of experience. That experience is supported by the latest in artificial intelligence. We have 2 proprietary trading programs that allows them to trade stocks in the S&P 500. We have a portfolio north of $80 million worth of these stocks, generating dividends and returns. And we also have a trading program that generates profits by selling and buying and making profits on doing that. Now, we want to grow the company, and we've decided to grow the company by reaching out to you. We've decided to grow the company rather than through advertising. When I worked at Wells Fargo, they spent tens of millions of dollars on advertising to get customers to come in. What we've decided to do is take the millions of dollars that would be spent on advertising and use it to pay you. So there is an opportunity to loan us money, and we have packages that we'll show you in a minute on how you can do that. And because we are a company that wants to draw you away from Wells Fargo and Bank of America, we want to pay you substantially more than you can get from those institutions. What you will notice is what we're willing to pay for deposits now will probably be less in the future, because the longer we've been around, the less we have to entice people who haven't heard of us to come here. So from a timing standpoint, the sooner you can take advantage of the yields that we're offering, you'll have a chance to see how substantial they are. And we're carefully managing the payout of those yields so that we can have growth as well as sustain the strength of this company long term. Oil and gas revenues, interest calculations, we're going to show you more about that in a minute. And we calculate interest to pay you on your deposits on a daily basis. Here's our programs. You can get started with as little as a $25 deposit. That's going to pay you 0.75% interest per day, 5 days a week. You can withdraw your interest Saturdays and Sundays, and you can close your account out at any time. The contract has a lifetime of 200% return on your investment, just like a CD in the bank, which is for 1 month, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years. These programs are also set for a time period that expires based on the return you've received. So if you look at 0.75% per day, 5 days per week, and you run that out for a month, you're looking at a 15% return per month. If you look at Wells Fargo, Bank of America, they're paying 5.25% for a long-term CD. You can see this is substantially above that. If you're willing to deposit a larger amount above $499 from $500 up to $5,000, we're going to increase what we pay you to 1% per day, 5 days a week. That takes the return on a monthly basis from 15 to 20%. If you have the money and are willing to put it with us, and you want to put from $5,000 to $10,400, we will pay you 1.25% per day, 5 days a week, which I believe takes it up to just a little bit under 30%. Now, if you go to the cash cow, also no limit, we're going to take that daily payment up to 1.75%. Again, you can withdraw Saturdays and Sundays. Once you've received a 200% on your investment, you're going to have to renew with whatever we're offering at that time. As you know, in financial markets, stocks go up and down, interest rates go up and down, and we reflect that in our program. We want to pay you more than you would get at a bank in an institution with which you're familiar, because we want to encourage you to come with us as a startup and help us grow. We also have a compounding program where you put your money in, and rather than taking profits and withdrawing them, you leave the money in so that you get interest on your interest. We'll pay you 1.5% per day, 5 days a week, until that has reached 200% of your original investment, and then you can cash it out, roll it over into a new program. Now, We want you to help us get the word out. So rather than spending millions of dollars in advertising like the major institutions of the world do, we'd like to take those advertising dollars and pay them to you as an affiliate. And we want to encourage you not to just work for yourself, but to take your time and energy to build a sales organization. If you look at any successful company, they have a sales staff, and every sales staff has leaders. And in a large company, leaders have leaders because it's a lot of work to train, educate, and support people. And we want to reward you for doing that. So as you bring people to make deposits in our company for the returns that I already described, for the people you bring directly to us, we're going to pay you a 5% commission on that deposit. For the people that they bring to us, we're going to pay you a 4% commission on those deposits. And for the people that those people bring you, 3%. And for those people, to those people, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We want the leaders to duplicate themselves through the tier below them and be willing to reach down deep through to level 5 so that all organizations will grow and become strong. And even with attrition, what happens is you end up with compression, right? Not all people stick with all things. I don't know if you've noticed that in your life. I've done a lot of recruiting over the years, and many people claim they want to build an organization and get commissions, but not all people will do the work. In order to do the work, you have to be willing to present what's available to those people that you find. The people that are going to be most willing to listen to you are going to be the ones you already know because you have credibility with them. If you go into the market of people you don't know, then the challenge that you have, it's like advertising. You're going to have to reach a large number of people to get a smaller number that will listen to you, to get a smaller number that will participate. I also recommend you take this to the most influential people that you know. They might say yes, they might say no. This is a timing. Haven't you ever noticed with advertising, you'll see an ad multiple times and not be interested. And then one day you're thinking of doing something that ad was talking about. And because it gets presented to you at the time that you've changed your mind, you're then willing to take action. But most advertising falls on deaf ears. Marketing will show you that you need to see an ad at least 7 times before you even recognize it. And then timing and opportunity needs to come up. So I recommend that you first reach out to those people with whom you have credibility, and through them, the people with whom they have credibility. And we are here at this company willing to speak to your top people that have influence, and they might have an entire organization that's ready to participate with us, and there's some real bonuses that can be earned because of that. So here's the bonuses that I'm talking about. Once you're at the executive level, which means you and your group, that 5 levels down, have attained $25,000 in success through deposits, we're going to give you a one-time bonus of $800. If you double that, we're going to give you another bonus of $3,500. When you take that to $75,000 of total deposits, we call that the director, we're going to pay you $5,250. When you get to the presidential level, that means you and your group have caused to have deposited with us $100,000. That gives you a $10,000 one-time bonus. And you can see as you get to these larger levels with larger deposits, the compensation is breathtaking. I have seen people in other companies with which I've worked do incredible things. I have a person that's a friend of mine that sells CDs for Wells Fargo. And last month, she brought in $5 million worth of CDs. So it can be done, but you have to do the work. Volume compensation is what we were talking about. We're going to pay you to help build organizations. This is me. If you do a search for David D. McElroy on Google, you will see that I am everywhere. I've been in the finance and mortgage industry for decades, and I bring my experience to your table. I've had multiple conversations with the founders, and they've been very receptive to ideas. And I was just on a call with one of the founders before we started this, and the question he asked me is, what's the field telling you? What challenges are they having? What can we do to support them? That's the kind of thing you want to hear from somebody that's in a position of authority and helping us grow. Dee?
Wow, wow, wow. What an amazing, amazing presentation that was. Um, I just want to say thank you, David, once again for bringing us to life and giving us this opportunity to be able to grow massively within our network. So there is some Q&A questions that that's been brought up. So I'm going to read them out loud for you so that you can answer them as we move forward.
Please.
But ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, with David's knowledge and education that he's brought, this has just been a phenomenal experience already. So with that, I'm seeing, is it possible to allow translation in other languages? Okay, that can be possible. Let me answer that. That can be possible. We will work on some of the futures and trying to see if we can get other translations implemented. Can you elaborate on some of the languages that are you looking for? If you can type that in the chat for us, that will be great. Also, people have questions on how fossil, Tommy asks, people have questions of how fossil fuel affects the environment, and they wouldn't want to invest in energy sectors because of what do you have to say about that?
Okay, so there's two worlds of thought that we can live in, right? There's the altruistic thought where we would shut off all fossil fuels. And by the way, renewables supply about 3% of the energy for the world. So imagine a world where all of a sudden overnight, we lose 97% of the energy that we have. It would shut down industries. In fact, it would shut down those industries that are supporting the growth of green energy. So we are in a world that requires fossil fuels. What we want to support is the use of those fossil fuels to continue to grow green energy, to continue to grow the electric car market, to continue to grow the development of solar cells and windmills and hydro dams. And all of those things can only be done using fossil fuels. So we would not have the world in which we live had we not had oil and gas. We need it. In fact, internationally, Western companies or countries have put pressure on third world countries to cut back on fossil fuels. Unfortunately, if that's done prematurely, what would that mean for third world countries? They would never be able to have the success we've had in Western nations. So I agree with you 100%, but the right thing to do is to transition from what used to be 100% fossil fuel toward an increasing use of alternative energy, but have it also be done in a way that doesn't put at risk our health and our economic stability. Right here in Dallas, Texas, right in Texas, years ago, we went to a huge requirement by government to put in alternative energy stations. And just a couple of years ago, because of that, and because during certain types of weather you can't depend on it, we had brownouts here where entire sections of Dallas shut down. People were freezing in their homes because the grid was unstable. So I understand 100%, but there is no way to make that transition overnight. It needs to be done in an orderly fashion. If we want to be part of sustainability, both as a company as well as what can be done for the world in terms of really helping it be green and keeping the standard of living up for Western nations as well as other countries throughout the world.
Okay, Tommy said that's a nice reply. That was really best. So we're gonna get those those languages that you're requesting. We're gonna try to get those for you. There's another question in the chat. Will the company be audited, and where is the company listed?
We're a privately held company, so we're not listed. The stocks that we trade in are listed. We invest in companies like Ionics. We also invest in Adrian Green Energy. We also invest in, trying to remember the Lithium America, as well as other major companies. We will eventually, even though we're a private company and don't have to do it, be publishing our investment results on our website. And that's integration that we're working on for the future.
Any more questions? Well, with that being said, this is okay. It says from S21 from 1.9% to 1% from the first week. Secondly, why? There you go, David. Can answer that question.
Yeah, those would be financial calculations. So for larger deposits, they're willing to pay a higher return. As I was talking about before, those people that know influential people, the value of those influential people is they bring larger networks in. The value of a larger deposit is we have more money to work with. And what I know about the financial world, I spoke about this on my airport call that we did when I was first introduced as CEO of the company. But if you look at getting into international finance, there are about 12 families or groups at the top of the food chain that control billions and billions of dollars worth of worth throughout the world. And the ordinary person can't reach them. They don't have time for us. But there are aggregators. There's about 360 major aggregation companies and individuals throughout the world. And those 360 put the capital together of those that have less. So for example, someone that has $1 million would go with an aggregator that puts the million together with 10 other people to get 10 million. And then they put that 10 million with someone that aggregates for 100 million. And then those people take the 100 million for those people that have enough to do 10 of those to go with the $1 billion people. So we're looking at the same thoughts here. The larger the amount of capital that someone is willing to loan to us, the higher yield we will pay them. And the faster they will get a return on that money, bringing them up to the 200%.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that we answered most of everybody's questions. So if there's no more questions, we will close out the meeting, and we will continue to do our Zoom calls moving on in the future. If anybody has any more questions, please let me know or put your hands up. With that, we'll close this meeting out. So going once, going twice. I don't think there's any more questions.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your support in these early days. Please bring to our attention those things that you see as challenges, and what we look for are patterns and challenges and questions. So when a particular problem comes up multiple times, then we put the resources of our technical team, our legal team, or whichever team needs to pay attention to it. I can tell you this, artificial intelligence does allow to do translation in multiple languages. So if you'll let us know which languages are prominent so we can work on those first, we'd really appreciate it.
There's another question in the chat. When is the next meeting?
We have one coming up Thursday night, which would be 7 p.m. Central Time in the United States. We can also do individual meetings for large groups or one-on-ones for someone you might be bringing to the table that's very powerful and very well connected. You can run those connections through Dee, and she will bring it to me, and we will do private meetings with somebody that we might call a heavy hitter.
Absolutely. Chris says, thank you very much for the info. Chris, we appreciate that. All right. So with that being said, we will close this meeting out. Look forward to seeing you guys on the next Thursday Zoom call.
Thank you, one and all, to our success.
Absolutely.